So we were looking at the frequency distribution table. How did we arrive at it? We had this bunch of data, all these numbers. We are supposed to use 6 classes. So how do you first compute the class width? Take the largest data value, that was 47, minus smallest data value, that was 1, the whole over desired number of classes, that was 6. That comes to approximately 7.7. So you round it up to 8, okay, to the next whole number. Use that 8 to build this table. How? Take the smallest number, write down, keep adding 8 6 times. Why 6 times? Because you have 6 classes. That gets you the lower class limits. Now, once you have the lower class limits, you can see the previous number. So, this is 9. So, the previous number is 8. 8 becomes the upper class limit. This is 17. So, that's 16. 16 becomes the upper class limit. 25. So, that's 24. 24 is the upper class limit. So, notice for upper class limit, once you have the first one, all you're doing is adding 8 6 times. So that gets you upper class limit. So lower class limits, you start with the smallest number 1, keep adding the 8 that you got here 6 times. Find the upper class limit by taking 1 before, or take 1 before here and add 8 6 times. Now, class boundaries. How do we find class boundaries? Take 0.5 to the left, 0.5 to the right. 0.5 to the left, 0.5 to the right, and so on. Those are the class boundaries. Now, what are these tallies? Tallies, now you go back to your data. You see 13. 13 is in this class, so you would make a tally there for 13. 7 is in this class, you would make a tally for 7, and so on. Go through all of these numbers and get a tally. Notice how you make tally: 4 vertical and 1 across. That's a 5. 4 vertical and 1 across. That's a 5. So this way you're collecting tallies in groups of 5. So it's easier to count. How do you know this is 14? 5, 10, 4 more, 14, 5, 10, 15, 20, 1 more, 21, and so on. So these numbers, the tallies, give you what is called frequency. Now, class midpoints. How do you find class midpoints? First number plus last number over 2. First plus last. 1 plus 8, 9. 9 over 2 is 4.5 or 4.5. Once you find the first class midpoint, you add 8. That's all. So class midpoints, class lower and upper limits, all you do is add 8. Okay? Okay. So you got your frequency table done. Now, with this frequency table, we are ready to go to the next step. Here, so tallying data that I told you about. So 1 vertical stroke. Once you have the 5th tally, you go diagonal. Okay, so that gives you a group of 5. The class frequency is the number of tally marks. All right. Now, midpoint, lower class limit, upper class limit over 2. We just saw that, right? 1 plus 8 over 2. Once you find the first class midpoint, then you keep adding 8 6 times. Okay, how, remember, 8 is specific to this problem because highest minus lowest over the number of desired classes. So what was 8? 8 is the class width. That's what we add every time. Okay, so class boundaries, we have class boundaries. Now basic frequency, we have basic frequencies. Now once you have basic frequency, what is called relative frequency. What is relative frequency? Take your frequency, divide by the total number, right? So there are 60 in all, 60 workers. So these frequencies you're going to divide by 60. All right. So frequency divided by 60. All right. And you're giving me an approximate value in each case. Okay. The total of the relative frequencies should be 1. Whereas the total of the frequencies should be 60. 60 being the total number of data you already have. Frequencies should add up to 60, but relative frequencies should add up to 1. All right. So relative frequency table, what do? You first make frequency table and then divide throughout by n. Okay, all the frequencies by n. Now histograms and relative frequency histograms. Well, what are histograms? Histograms and relative frequency histograms provide effective visual displays of data organized into frequency tables. So you made your frequency tables, you're going to make graphs out of them. We use bars to represent each class. Width of the bar is the class width. For histograms, the height of the bar is the class frequency, whereas for relative frequency histograms, height of the bar is relative frequency. Let's see what that means. Okay, it's the same summary. So you have your data, you have your frequency table. Now all these frequency, when I divide by the total number, that is 60, right, I get relative frequency. So notice this is frequency. 14 over 60 is my relative frequency. 21 over 60 is my relative frequency. So for each class you have a frequency and you have relative frequency. Okay, now you're going to graph all of this. Okay, so let me keep this information available so you can see what we are graphing. I'm unable to. Why is it? Copy. Paste. All right, in my next video, I will copy this and paste and you can see how to proceed.